So today we'll cover the median nerve. The median nerve means 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Roots 5, 6 upper trunk, 7 middle trunk, 8, 1 lower trunk, and tier divisions forming the lateral and the medial cord, and the posterior divisions of all three forming the posterior cord. Lateral cord continuing as the musculocutaneous, the posterior cord continuing as the radial, the medial cord continuing as the ulnar, and from the lateral and the medial cord arising the median nerve. Now we'll depict it. This is the axillary artery converting into the brachial artery, and as these are the lateral and the medial cords, this continuing as the musculocutaneous, this continuing as the ulnar, and both giving a roots which form the median nerve on the lateral side of the brachial artery. This is the artery. So here is your median nerve forming and lying on the lateral side of the artery. Now in the middle of the arm, we'll make the humerus, the lateral condyle, the capitulum, the trochlea, and the medial epicondyle. We'll make the glenoid cavity, the supraglenoid notch, the coracoid process, the suprascapular notch, the scapula. We'll place a spur on the medial border here. The spur is called as the humeral spur, and we'll make a ligament which connects this humeral spur to the medial epicondyle. This ligament is called as Struther's ligament. And we will attach an important muscle on the medial border coming from the coracoid process, and this muscle is attached to the middle of the forearm, but it can be attached right up to the medial epicondyle on this Struther's ligament. Now this is abnormal. Normally the muscle would attach only up to here, and in this circumstance the artery would come behind the muscle, pass through this gap in the Struther's ligament, and convert into the radial and the ulnar artery. The nerve which has crossed medial to it in the middle of the arm will accompany the artery like this, and will cross the ulnar artery from medial to lateral, so that it actually is now lying between the radial and the ulnar artery. So This is one important site of entrapment of the artery and the nerve, and this is called as Struther's syndrome. Now, the second important site is that here you will have the radius and the radial tuberosity arising from the long and the short head, long head, supraglenoid tubercle, short head, coracoid process. You have the biceps muscle, and this biceps muscle is somewhere here, superficial to the brachialis. Brachialis is here, all right, and this bicep muscle has an aponeurosis. So this biceps basically has a tendinous insertion in the radial tuberosity, but it also gives an aponeurosis, and this aponeurosis covers the artery. So this artery is here and the nerve is here, and this is actually covered by this bicipital aponeurosis. So the second site of compression is this bicipital aponeurosis, which must be divided in fasciotomy, in doing a fasciotomy to relieve vascular insufficiency in injuries of the upper limb. This bicipital aponeurosis is the second site of entrapment. First the Struther syndrome, the second is bicipital aponeurosis. Now we go on to the third site. The third site is the lateral condyle, the capitulum, the trochlea, and the medial epicondyle. Then we have the radius, the radial tuberosity, and the radial styloid here. Then we have the trochlea, ulnar tuberosity, ulnar bone, and the ulnar styloid here. Then we see the pronator teres muscle. Okay, if you place the pronator teres, it has a humeral head and it has an ulnar head. So the nerve coming on the medial side of the artery passes between these two heads, and the artery which is coming here passes as radial artery here, gives an ulnar artery, and this ulnar artery is actually passing under the ulnar head. So this median nerve and ulnar artery is separated by the ulnar head of the pronator teres. You know that this pronator comes and gets attached to the lateral border of the radius. And if you are performing a flexor pronator release, therefore the sequence is that first you detach the humeral head, then you push the median nerve radially, then you hook the ulnar head of the pronator teres, saving the artery, and then divide the ulnar head. So humeral and ulnar head have to be divided in flexor pronator release, which is done for chronic VIC, and the other name of the operation is Max Page's operation. So after passing under the between the two heads of the pronator teres, the nerve passes between the two heads, one arising from the supinator crest and one the humero-ulnar head of flexor digitorum superficialis. So it passes under the two heads of the flexor digitorum superficialis, nothing special here, and then it comes to lie between flexor pollicis longus on the radial side and flexor digitorum profundus on the ulnar side. So the digitorum is going like this and the pollicis is going like this. So at this point, the ulnar artery is given a median artery which is accompanying the nerve, and this is an end artery. So in ischemia, the adjacent portions of flexor pollicis longus and flexor digitorum profundus become sequestrated, become ischemic, and undergo pathology of necrobiosis. So besides the flexor pronator release and chronic VIC, you may have to remove this muscle sequestrum and the entrapment of the nerve here. This is called as Seddon's operation. Finally, the nerve would get entrapped at the level of the wrist. At the level of wrist, there is the palmaris longus tendon, which is dividing into the palmar aponeurosis, and on this side is the flexor carpi radialis tendon. The nerve is coming between these two tendons and passing under the flexor retinaculum, which is the carpal tunnel. So 5 centimeters above the wrist, it has given a palmar carpal branch, which is supplying the thenar eminence. So since that branch is coming from above, there is no loss of sensation on thenar eminence. Here it can be released, but always the incision for release is given on the medial side. Flexor retinaculum is always divided on the medial side of the palmaris longus tendon, so that you don't cut the nerve. Then after it passes through the carpal tunnel, it divides into a superficial and a deep branch. The superficial branch supplies the thumb 1, 2, 3 and a half of the ring finger, 3.5 ring finger, and it communicates with the superficial branch of the ulnar nerve. The deep branch passes between abductor and flexor pollicis brevis. This is pollex. Abductor and flexor pollicis brevis, pierces the opponent's pollicis and ends in the two lumbricals of the index and the middle finger. That means L1 and L2. Lumbrical 1 and 2. So carpal tunnel is the third site where the nerve needs to be decompressed.